Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living. Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Mindset Elevation Coach, and publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine, Linda Joy here. And I gotta tell you, you're in for a juicy, empowering conversation. And if you're a woman ready to step into your magic, then you want to stay with me for this episode. What if healing isn't a straight line, but a sacred spiral? In this soul nourishing episode, my dear friend and soul sister, intuitive empowerment coach Kim Turcotte, joins me to share how the lunar phases mirror our healing journeys. You'll discover how to release guilt, embrace divine timing, and use moon wisdom to support your personal growth, healing, and expansion. I have known Kim, played, worked, collaborated for over 16 years now. And I got to tell you, Kim is who I turn to when I go, Kim, how can I use the phase of the moon to support this vision I have? And so much more. Kim is an intuitive empowerment coach, Magick Maker, and the creator of the Step Into Your Magick method, a transformative framework for empowered self-care, spiritual alignment, and personal growth. Through her coaching, courses, and sacred living practices, she helps women reconnect with their truth, release outdated conditioning, and live more intentionally without guilt or shame. Blending ancient wisdom with practical tools, Kim's work draws on lunar cycles, seasonal rhythms, human design, and sacred self-care to support healing, self-trust, and authentic living. As you'll discover, she believes that each woman's journey of healing, growth, and transformation is not linear. It's cyclical, embodied, and deeply personal. And that wherever you are on your journey is exactly where you are meant to be. Welcome, Kim.
Thanks for having me, Linda. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I am too, because I just love and admire your work. And we have so many conversations about this. I'm like, Kim.
Right.
And so I really love this whole message about healing isn't a straight line, because I used to think, well, I just want this to be over. And then, of
Yes.
course, as life evolved, another layer of healing would come up. And I used to judge myself, thinking, I thought I was done with this.
Right.
So let's start there, because you say healing isn't linear. So
No.
share what that means to you and how it's shown up in your own journey.
So, I was just like you. I would get frustrated when I thought I was done with or over something, right? Like, because those are the messages we hear in our culture is, aren't you over that yet? Or, it's been so long. Why are you still crying about that? Or why are you still thinking about that? And so we have all these messages of you have to get past something or move beyond it. But the truth is that in my own experience and what I've seen in my clients is that when we do our healing work, we can only go as deep as we're able to in that moment. I mean, sometimes we just don't have the capacity to get at the root of something. And so we go as deep as we can and we think that we're done. And then as we move through life and we grow and we gain more wisdom, we open up more capacity. And then oftentimes, as we experience growth, we'll have something that we thought we were quote unquote done with, right?
Mhm.
Come back for us. And it's because we have expanded. We have expanded our capacity. We've grown. We have more wisdom now. And so we're able to actually go deeper into the healing process. And it's really, I like to think of it. I don't know if you've ever heard the term as above, so below, as within, so without. So as above, so below to me really really represents kind of this process because as we grow, right, and as we expand, the deeper we can go into the healing. Like if you think of that visual, it's like as you go deeper into the healing, then you can expand and grow. They are linked to each other. You can't have one without the other. And so that's why, there's no shame in returning to something that we thought we had healed because it's just an opportunity for us to become more whole and to go deeper.
I just, just hearing your explanation and your definition, I can think back to so many times where I judged myself, just as you shared, like I should be through this already. And I think
Yes.
that's the world's message hitting us, right?
Mhm.
But we are part of nature.
Yes.
And we are designed to co-create with nature. So, you just beautifully explained why it's more of a spiral rather than a straight path. So help us understand how we can reframe our setbacks um, in old wounds in this new empowered perspective.
Well, I think, just allowing yourself to move beyond or to question really, be curious about why you think you have to be beyond something, right? Because it really is conditioning. We have so many messages to just move forward, keep going, you know, push through, get over it. I mean, over and over and over again. And, I think what happens is that we tend to take that on as our own beliefs. But do you actually believe that? Because that's what that conditioning is what's creating the guilt and shame. It's not actually the process of healing or returning to what you thought you'd healed. It's the messages that you've gotten from the outside world. So I think one of the things that I like to do is just say, do I really believe that? Do I really believe that it's not okay to look at this again? And in every case, it never is my belief, but I guess my instant reaction when something comes up is, oh my God, why is this coming up again? But that's just the conditioning and that's where the guilt comes from. So it's really being curious and, allowing yourself to give yourself permission to say, I don't believe that. And I don't have to feel guilt and shame over that. In fact, I can feel empowered instead, and I can actually move deeper into my healing and become more whole and more aligned with myself. So, and I work, I know we, at the beginning, you talked about working with the moon phases. Like to me, the moon phases really help me kind of move through that journey. Um, it's because the moon cycles happen in a rhythm. They happen every 28 days. The moon is cyclical, right? And so she mirrors for us that journey of healing and growth.
As you were speaking, I was thinking of a spiral and then that vision of an onion, and we've always heard this, right?
Yes, yes.
And I can remember when some trauma wounds, we're going back 30 years, I had
Yep,
the intensity, right?
yep,
Then that softened because I did the work. Then I
yep,
thought I was done. And then about, I'd say 5 years ago, so again, 25 years ago at this point, I remembered that feeling of like, what, this again? And I
yep,
was with a therapist who was very spiritual minded back then. And she said to me, listen, Linda, we evolve in our souls, our body, our essence knows when we're ready to process the next layer of
yes.
healing. And she said, whatever comes up, because I was fighting it.
Mhm.
I didn't
I
want
think
the
most
healing.
people do, right, I think most people do, because it's scary to go back there.
Yeah, especially when it was so intense the first time. So I
Yep.
kept fighting it, which takes more energy than leaning
Mhm.
into the healing. And then
Yes.
she said something, I'm sure we've all heard this in some way or other. She said, I promise you, you will not be giving anything more than you can handle because that's how the divine created us. And so we
Absolutely.
sometimes feel like this is going to break me, but I always went back to what she said to me is it's coming to the surface now because as you just said, on that spiral path of healing, expanded now and have a bigger container to hold the next level of healing. And then
Absolutely.
and I still remember that. So as you were sharing that beautiful story, I'm like, oh, it's like the onion. We we're not done till we get down to where we're meant to get down to, and hopefully it's in this lifetime. So Kim, we're
Right.
gonna take a quick break because I want to come back and I want to talk more about those moon cycles mirroring our personal healing. So I want to give a whole segment to that and not have to, cut you off. But
Sure.
I love this conversation. So I want to invite everyone to visit Kim at kimturcotte.com. Check out all her services, offerings, and there's a complimentary sacred offer. There's actually a couple. And this one is Moon Magick, and it's kimturcotte.com/moon hyphen magic with a K. And I invite you to go grab it. Kim will be talking about it more later in the show. We'll be right back, my friends.
There is magic within you and all around you. Shaw Blackburn, internationally recognized psychic, shamanic healer, and teacher, known as the Loon Witch, has been empowering individuals to transform their lives using magical principles and her intuitive gifts since 1997. Shaw is a high priestess in the Order of Blended Wisdom Coven, ordained minister, Reiki master teacher, certified neuro-linguistic practitioner, and QHHT practitioner, certified in shamanic healing from the Foundation of Shamanic Studies. For over 20 years, she's been a popular media guest, providing wisdom and live intuitive readings. Shaw offers an empowering variety of in-person and virtual workshops on the topics of divination, healing, metaphysics, and more. Clients around the world turn to her for tarot and rune readings and to her intuitive wisdom for guidance and clarity. Ready to tap into your magic? Visit loonwitch.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and I am so thrilled to be circled up with one of my soul sisters, Kim Turcotte, an intuitive empowerment coach and a true magic maker. And she's also the creator of the Step Into Your Magick method. So, Kim, that was that previous segment really just spoke to my healing journey. And though I was living it then, I can see it from that framework now of the spiral that you described. But
Yes.
when I was in it way back then, it just wasn't pretty. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think again, like if you think back, like it's really a lot of conditioning, right? And it's also to your point, like we can feel overwhelmed, but the truth is when it does come back around, we're not the same person we were the first time we went through it. And so we're much better equipped and in my own experience, and I'd be curious to see how you feel, but each layer, it's easier to go a little bit deeper and the rawness and the depth like the I don't
steam,
like
steam.
the debt like the how hard it feels. It doesn't feel as hard the further out from it you get or the deeper you go. Like sometimes it can, but for the most part, that raw energy of the first time you go through it really dissipates as you grow and as you expand because you're just, like you said, more equipped to go deeper.
Yeah, and one thing, and that's exactly true for me too. And one of the things I always reminded myself after she had said that to me, because there was many more layers to be shed.
Yes, yeah, right.
And I remembered, Linda, you already lived through the worst of it.
Yes.
Like you went so deep and dark in that first healing of childhood trauma and all that. And if you could make it through that, that part of the healing, then all of this, you've got this, girl, because I was more
Exactly.
empowered, more inner
Yes.
strength, more connection to my source because of that. And that's what this conversation is, ladies. In case you're listening right now, and maybe you're at the deep part of the healing where you're like, "Oh my goodness, is it ever gonna end?" It is. It's cyclical. So,
Yes.
Kim, let's talk about that because you brought in the moon cycles, which you know I love. So,
Yes.
how do the phases of the moon mirror our personal healing and growth cycles?
So I think, I have this kind of five pronged approach, and I work with five particular phases of the moon. So I'll go through them really quick for you just so you can have an idea. So the first is working with the energy of the full moon. And at the full moon, it's brightest in the sky, but it's still dark outside. So to me, that's the time to look at your shadows, right? Like it's illuminating, but you're still in the darkness, if that makes sense. So it's about really telling yourself the truth and looking at your shadows, because we can't really do healing work and we can't expand unless we're willing to be honest with ourselves about where we are and how we got there. So I really work with the energy of the full moon as almost like a companion to support me and help me to have the courage to tell myself the truth. So that's like the first step on the journey. And then as the moon moves from the full moon to the new moon, it's called the waning moon, and the moon in the sky is actually decreasing in size. So the natural energy of that is kind of shrinking, right? And condensing. And so it's a perfect energy to let go of the things that you need to let go of in order to move beyond where you're at. So the first step, you tell yourself the truth. Excuse me. Second part of it is really tapping into that energy of the waning moon and being willing to let go of the things that are keeping you stuck in where you are. So it's like if you think about your healing journey, right? You have to confront what has happened and you have to be willing to release not that you don't feel the feelings, you absolutely need to move through them, but you also that's the point, you need to move through them. You need to release that energy. You don't want to hold on to it and have it block up your system, right? So once you've gone through that releasing process, you've opened up space. And now you come to the dark moon, and that's where you don't see the moon in the sky at all. And that space is a space of stillness. It's really just about recalibrating and balancing and allowing yourself to just be, because we often don't pause. We're often always going. And it's in those moments of stillness that a deeper truth can be revealed to us. And so then from there, we move to the new moon. And that's a time where the light, just a sliver of the moon is showing back in the sky. So it's starting to grow again. It's the perfect time for new beginnings, for setting intentions. So this is where I'm like, okay, I've let this go. I've taken whatever wisdom has come through this stillness at the dark moon, and now I'm going to set some intentions of where I want to go in this journey and how to move beyond this. And then from the new moon to the full moon is waxing, the light is growing in the sky. And that's when it's time to take inspired actions that align with your intentions. I think this is a piece that gets lost. And the way, like think about it, when you are in the thick of things, right? You have to move through that process of honesty with yourself, of releasing, of kind of recalibrating, seeing where you are. You want to you need to create a vision of where you want to go once you've healed this. But that's where a lot of people stop. And it's so important to be willing to take inspired action. And the moon reminds us of that. As the energy builds, we have energy, and we need to put that energy to good use, because an intention alone is not going to move you beyond the current you know, the current work you're doing, you need to actually do something different than you've always done. And then we arrive again at the full moon. And so it's like it's just a beautiful cycle because we're not going to heal it all in one go round, right? It's just not going to happen. And so this get to me, it gives us permission to revisit at a pace that really works for us. It's so soothing. And the moon doesn't judge us. She just holds space for us. And she's always there.
And that's so healing to me, you know, because you've watched my journey with all of this
Yes.
since
Yes.
I say Kim is my goddess guide. And now I just like everything you just described to me is like a roadmap to personal
Yes.
empowerment. That's
A-
what it has been for me, and that's what I see in all the work with clients. I'm like, it's there, it's part of nature, it's part of what was given to us by the divine. Why would we not work with it?
Absolutely. And I think, for me, I mean, I've been walking a nature-based path, spiritual path for almost, God, over 25 years now, which is seems crazy to me that it's been that long. But, I always say that nature is our greatest teacher. And this is no exception. She really teaches us how, if you can just pay attention to what the moon is doing, somehow for me anyway, it gives me permission to just be where I'm at and to do what I can that's aligned with that phase, right? Because some cycles we're going to have more that we're inspired to let go of, and sometimes we're not going to be able to let go, right? Because we still have deeper work to do. So we can just let go a little bit. But the thing about the moon is that it gives you permission to come back to it, and that's where for me, working with the moon has released so much guilt, because she is just there. And I don't know, it's so powerful to me.
It is, it's a powerful tool. And one thing I noticed on my own journey, and I'm sure you see this with a lot of clients, is before I call it when I lived in Muggle world, I couldn't figure out, especially I'd say like 25, 30 years ago, I was so not aligned with myself, right? Because I was
Yes.
on the path in nature. And I would go, why am I feel like I'm stuck in mud? Knowing what I know now is I was trying to take inspired action in those times where I was supposed to be in stillness and recalibrating, right? And
Yes.
so I was going against my own natural cycles and the cycles of nature. Once I got that, my life became so much easier. I'm not
Absolutely.
perfect, ladies. I'm not perfect, but now I go, why am I going to go against the natural rhythms and
Yes.
force something into being or force myself to do something when the energies are not supporting that? Why wouldn't we work with the energies to love and guide us?
Yes. And I think, that's such a great point, and I 100% agree with you. Again, it comes back to the conditioning, right? You think about, I mean, the term hustle culture is like all the trend right now. People,
Drives
you
me
got to be
crazy.
the yeah, you got to be the boss babe, you got to be the go-getter, you got to like keep pushing, and if you're not always going, I mean, and you know again, I just want to circle back. How does this apply to your healing journey? Well, healing and growth are connected to each other, right? You can't have one without the other. They're two sides of the same coin. And so as you grow and expand, that's one part of it. But to your point, we also have to be willing to sit, to go deep, to heal the parts of us that are we're wounded, that don't match up with where we're growing to, right? And so it's this back and forth, and I think that's what I love so much about the moon is she teaches us that sometimes it's okay to not be visible. Right? Like it's
Yeah.
okay to just be in the darkness and the stillness with ourselves. And to me, for me, that has been so powerful because I'm kind of a type, you know me, I'm a little bit of a type A personality, and I always have gone, 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 gone. But it it's in the stillness where our greatest treasures are born.
So true, and this resonates so deeply from my own journey, especially I'd say the last 10, 15 years
Yep.
of listening, slowing down, and you've witnessed it in me, taking most of the
Yes.
summer off, taking the holidays off, where before I'd work 7 days a week, coming from the old paradigm that I lived in when I
Mhm.
first became an entrepreneur 30 something years ago. And now everyone's like, how can you run 5 media brands? Do this, take so much time off. And I'm like, intentional living and flowing with nature instead of against it. And there's many
Yes.
times, listen, ladies, even though I embrace all this, there's times I go, oh my God, what is the supportive energies? And I call Kim or text her. Hey,
Yeah, right.
he's always getting texts and all that because it resonates so deeply as truth to me. This is how I want to continue living, but we all need sacred reminders sometimes.
Yes.
So we're going to go to the next segment, Kim. And before
Okay.
you, what I thought of is we just came through the summer solstice, so we got the upcoming, winter solstice. If you could just share a little bit about what those two things mean on our healing journey, and then we'll continue our conversation, my friend.
Perfect.
We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am with Kim Turcotte, Intuitive Empowerment Coach and Magic Maker. Visit her at kimturcotte.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you feeling called to clear your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual blockages? That's your soul and environment speaking to you and asking you to uncover all the clutter that is preventing you from living the life you envision. Felicia Messina DeHady, soul coaching master practitioner and trainer and teacher of advanced interior alignment and medicine wheel feng shui, supports her international clientele by creating inner and outer transformation in their environments and their lives by combining elements from her extensive training, experience, and intuition. Felicia is a master intuitive coach, certified by Colette Baron Reed, and has served as a master mentor for Denise Lin's Elemental Space Clearing certification course, as well as her Ultimate Clutter Clearing. Explore her offerings, including certification courses in Feng Shui, space clearing, soul coaching, and Reiki at FeliciaDeHady.com.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Thanks for circling up with me and my special guest, Kim Turcotte. We're talking about why healing isn't a straight line, but instead a sacred spiral, and how the lunar phases mirror our healing journeys. So, Kim, we, at the time this is airing, we have just moved through the summer solstice. And if you could share how we can use the solstice energies, both summer and later in the year, as part of our healing.
Yes. So this is what I love about nature, right? Because patterns repeat in nature. And so just that exact flow that I described for the different mood phases, right? We
Mm-hmm.
see that in the cycles and this rhythm and of the seasons. So if you think of the summer solstice, that's aligned more with the energy of the full moon. The sun is at the height of its power. It's the longest day of the year. There's lots of energy and light. And so it's shining a light, right? So it's a time to really step into your power, have the courage to tell yourself the truth. And then from the point of the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the length of the days grows shorter. So it's the waning time of the year. And so that energy, that brightness, the light is contracting throughout that half of the year. And so during that, so this, if you think about this, when you're healing something, right? You can work on pieces of it during a moon cycle. But the reality is that it's probably going to take you more than one moon cycle to move through this. So if you kind of expand your bubble out and you look at it from the lens of the seasons, right? During over the course of a year, you're still having all of those different energies. You're having the height of the light of the sun, right? It's solar instead of lunar. So that's the journey of the seasons, is the solar journey. So you have that height, then you have the waning year. When you get to the winter solstice, that's like the dark moon and the new moon. It's a great time for, and you think about winter. Winter is a time of cocooning. It's a time of more stillness, right? There's just an energy of, there's a lower energy. And so it calls for, if we listen to that, it calls for us to slow down. And so that's the beauty of this work, is that it can hold us on this, in this bigger container, if we look at those solar energies, or it can hold us in that smaller, 13 moon cycles throughout that bigger container. Does that make sense? Like, but it's the same energies repeating. It's just at a different magnitude, and I love it. It's kind of like looking at it as the size of your container to do your work.
It just is, for me, it's like a framework, right? That the divine
Yes.
gave us. It's a framework that always existed, always will. And
Yes.
it's our choice whether to acknowledge, step into, and honor it and follow it. Since I have, my life has unfolded in a myriad of ways. My creativity has increased, my abundance levels has increased, because I'm not going against my own natural rhythms as well as nature's. It's actually kind of fueled all my creations too, whether that's
Yes.
business creations or things I want to bring into my life or my personal life. It is, I don't know, for me, it's like an alignment. I feel
Absolutely.
more aligned than I ever have, and I'm 63, so that tells you I've been around for a while. And I'd say the last 5 years, I feel more aligned with the truth of who I am than I ever have been. And this is a part of the reasoning.
Yes. And I think that's another, like, natural outcome when it has been for me, and I've seen it with my clients and friends that practice this alongside me, is that when we learn to just trust those natural cycles, some part of us that's been asleep, right? That has been conditioned out of that alignment, right? Because again, we get these messages of going, 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 but you can't always be on. And when we start to recognize, wait, this feels familiar to me. It's almost like it's a coming back home to yourself. It's a remembering that this is how we're supposed to operate. And when we allow ourselves to step into that, that's when life becomes easier, because we're recognizing our own divine flow, our
Yeah.
own sacred rhythm. And it's something that was conditioned out of us as a young child. Like when you were a kid, you didn't think twice about taking a nap when you were tired. You did not think twice about running around, and being overzealous when you had all this energy within you. You knew how to honor your own rhythms. And then as we get older, we're taught, well, don't act that way now. No, you can't take a nap. We got to go do this. And it's like, big girls don't take naps. I mean, but that's
Yeah.
all a lie. It's all a lie. And I think when we are curious enough to explore the cycles and rhythms that are all around us, we do come home to ourselves and we remember our own sacred rhythm. And that has really been, I would say, at the heart of all the growth that I've had. It's such a beautiful sacred energy to be in.
Your words just reach my heart. And I want to say, too, to everyone listening, I've known Kim for 16 years. I've witnessed her live this message in business, in life, in everything that when life gets lifey, you know?
Yes,
And
yes.
and we've all been there. So I just wanted to say this isn't something she's joining me today to just have a conversation on. This is a way of being. This is a way of life for her, her clients, me, and so many others. And I love that coming home to yourself. That really speaks to me because that's what it feels like. And something else you said, which really resonated with is a remembering.
Yes.
And that word really resonated. And there was well, you shared many things that are really resonating, but there was something too when you said about the cycles. And right before we got on the air, I was having a personal conversation with Kim. And I just want you to feel this story for a moment, ladies. It's about that. I could have pushed through because others were waiting on me. And I'll share it real quick. I always announce a book. I'm a publisher, for those who are new here. I always announce a book every January, February for 15 years. And this year, I heard the name, I heard the cover, but something would not let me move forward. And so I I struggled with that a little, like, why isn't this moving like energy? I couldn't release it to my designer. And I finally let go, which must have been near that waning cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, I finally let go and said, no, this is not the right time for this book. Now, I didn't know why I was feeling that so strongly. It was a knowing, and I let go, as Kim knows, with complete love and trust. It is done. I told everyone on the wait list, it doesn't mean it's never coming. It just means not now. But in the past, I wouldn't have trusted that. 30 years ago, I would have said, no, no, I must do this
Right.
because of others' expectations. Well, I just shared with Kim before this, everything just dropped in the last 24, 48 hours. And Kim's words with me was, you let go, and now it's divine timing, and now nature's going to just take it over. It's because I trusted in the discomfort in January, February, that I'm now in total alignment with what's to come. Isn't that really
Yes.
what it is? Everything you teach?
100%. Yes, and the thing it's beautiful because here's like everything has its own sacred rhythm and cycle. So the birth of that book has its own divine timing and sacred rhythm. And so by honoring that, it's going to be so much more like you could have pushed through and it would have been great, but now it's going to be amazing,
It's
right? And
be
it's
magical.
yes, it's going to be absolutely magical because it is now in its right time and energy.
Yeah,
And I think, one of the things and believe me, I g I get it. I just went through a similar thing myself with the course that I'm creating. And it's like, why isn't this aligning? And then I stopped. But when I stopped, I have to admit that there were all these voices in my head that I heard. No one likes a quitter. If you're not if you just give up that easily, you're never going to realize your dreams. All these messages that we've heard, quitters never win and winners never quit. Like these were things I heard growing up. But
yeah,
they're not true. They're not. And it was in it wasn't quitting. It was pausing. It
yeah,
was a sacred pause to allow space and inspiration for the rhythm of what we were creating to align with our rhythm, right? Like it's a syncing up and that pause allows that. And again, it's just this beautiful energy to be able to do that without guilt. And admittedly, the voice chatter comes, but then after the voice chatter, I always remind myself that everything has sacred flow.
Yep. Yes. That's one of my favorite words is flow, because I feel like when we're in flow, we're aligned with nature, our source, and divinity. And
Yes.
I watched you go through that transition as you watched me go through my transition of letting it go and knowing it's all going to come in divine timing. And it did. And honestly, I got to say, the clarity, the message, the pure intention of the book is clearer than ever. And if I had
Yes.
forced it because of other people waiting on the wait list for it, it wouldn't have been as, it would have been aligned, but not as powerfully aligned as it is now. Like my passion is ignited, my flow, the writing, and I'm like,
And that and this
that's
is
the time.
where yeah, and this is where, like I get geeked out, when I think about manifestation. This allowing yourself to be in this cycle and this flow and align and sync up, that is where true manifestation happens because when like you said, it's not like it would have been bad if you would have pushed through, and it's not like you wouldn't have gotten it done and that it wouldn't have been a great book. But you are magnetic now, right? This
Yeah,
book will be magnetic. That it's going to attract all the right people. It is going to be end up in the hands of all the right people because it's in its divine time. And it's the same thing with the course I created. It's that when our energy aligns powerfully and everything syncs up, the magnitude of that, we become so much more magnetic and energized, and so does the work that we're putting out into the world. It's really a powerful thing.
it's magical. It truly is. And, I'm always saying, like, it's, we have to vibrationally align with what we call in. But Kim, we're going to
Yes.
take a quick break. I'm going to come back for the last, like, short segment.
Yep.
And when we do, I want to talk about, there could be someone listening right now who is feeling stuck or discouraged in her growth. So I want you to share one lunar phase and a strategy or action that they can take to help them get unstuck.
Perfect.
We'll be right back, my friends. Stay with us. You're in for some magic.
Your worth is not determined by the number on the scale. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. If you're like many midlife women, you've thought, if I could just reach my ideal weight, I'd be so much happier. But the truth is, what we're really craving is our own love and acceptance. And Sarah Haas is that guide for your journey. Sarah is a women's weight release expert and body love coach and walks alongside midlife women ready to say yes to self-care, self-compassion, and body love so they can become the healthy, vibrant, and unapologetically confident women they're here to be. Her holistic approach integrates nutrition, body movement, and self-care to nurture body, mind, and spirit. Visit sarahhaaswellness.com for supportive resources, programs, and more for midlife women ready to elevate their health.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. In this last segment, I've invited my dear friend Kim to share a lunar phase that you could work with and some action steps to help you get unstuck, help you move forward toward a vision or dream that you have. So, Kim, what comes to mind, my friend?
Well, what comes to mind is two different phases. So I'm just going to talk about both of them because I think that they're really linked to each other. Obviously, it's a cycle, so it's fully linked. But I think we have to be willing to tell ourselves the truth because so often we create stories in our head about where we are and why we're there because we don't want to actually admit to ourselves the truth because then we know we have to do something about it. So I do think working with the full moon and really leaning into that energy to help her give you the courage to tell the truth is a really great starting place. But I also think that a lot of times when we're feeling stuck, it's because we do, so if we've already gotten to the place where we do know what's kind of keeping us stuck, it's working with the waning moon to release that. We need to be willing to let something go in order to open up space for something new. We cannot add and add and add. We only have a certain level of capacity, right? So we need to be willing to let go of something in order to make space for something new. And we don't have to necessarily know what the something new is, but most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, we know what we need to let go of. We know what's holding us back, and we just get scared about letting it go because it's an unknown. It's safe. Where we are is safe. It might not be comfortable. We might feel stuck, but it's safe for us because we know it. So there's a certain level of comfort around it. But I can promise you, ladies, when you have the courage to be honest about what needs to shift and be let go of, and then you have the courage to actually let it go, the world will open up to you in ways you never could have imagined. And this is where trust and faith in yourself and in the divine really matters.
It speaks to me. It's funny because I do a lot with the full moon all the time and the new moon, but I think I'll stop playing with the waning and the waxing, which I'm not as prolific in. So that
Yes.
just what you just shared is really spoke to me. So I'm going to commit, ladies, to playing and working with the waning energy and for myself as well as the waxing energy. But
Yep.
Kim, that is so beautiful. I really appreciate that as a tool to help them see that they're not alone. And before we come to an end, I want to invite you because you have a sacred offer on your website that really aligns with everything we just talked about. So can you tell us about that and how they can find it?
Sure. It's a free guide that I've created called The Beginner's Guide to Working with the Phases of the Moon. And it'll give you the overview of what we talked about on the call today. It goes through the 5 main moon phases, and there's some journal prompts, there's some, it talks about how you can work with that energy for healing and growth. It's very simple. It's really designed for people who just want to get their feet wet and want to start learning about this. And they can, anyone who's interested in that can grab it on my website at Kim Turcotte, that's TURCOTTE.com, moon hyphen or dash magic, magic with a K, Magick.
Ladies, give yourself this gift. I encourage you to start playing with the energies of the moon. Stay connected with Kim. She has lots of beautiful information and supportive information on her website at kimturcotte.com. And I just, this could be a 2-hour conversation.
I know.
This could be a summit, my friend. And
I know.
so,
I do want to say this before we close off
of
though, Linda.
course, you still got 3 minutes.
I just want to give everyone listening permission to just be where you are. Because to your point, you said you only mostly work with the full moon and the new moon. And for many years, I only worked with the new moon because that's where I was at. And that's okay, right? There's no judgment. The moon is not judging you. So start where you are and don't feel like you have to know it all now. Be in flow and trust where the moon guides you.
Beautiful, empowering message, my friend.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone for circling up with us for this sacred conversation about stepping into your magic, embracing divine timing, and using moon wisdom to support your personal growth. Thank you, Kim, for joining me today. I am really thrilled that you were able to be here.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.